Day 10, May. It's been a couple of weeks since my last entry. Not that it matters. My boss got in some pretty deep trouble when he made a bad decision to upgrade a live server. He should have tested the upgrade on a test network to see if there were problems first. There were major problems. No one got emails for a few days, but our staff was exonerated of screwing up the network. Deep down, we all loved it. He finally got knocked off his high horse and landed with a thud. In the news today, the Chinese government announced that it had destroyed thousands of chickens to stop the bird flu. The World Health Organization tested many of the birds, declared the occurrence of the flu was only in a few birds, and the flu should be contained. Some politicians got caught having dead people vote. A few bombings in the Middle East, and I believe there was an oil spill somewhere. News. God, I hate it. Most of it's just really not that important anyway. The state fair was in town, so I went to it at lunch. It was free admission, so I figured why not? I got a new item called a donut hamburger. It was beyond a doubt true heart attack material. But damn, it was good. I always have to get taffy and an elephant ear to top it all off. Okay, I got a beer. I'm really not a drinker, especially since I have to go back to work. But I didn't care anymore. I wasn't the same, though. The fair wasn't the same. Usually my wife and I met for such a lunch. Trish was killed by a drunk driver about 5 years ago. I'll never get over it. Trish and I met in college, and the second I laid eyes on her, I knew she was the one. I think she knew it as well. She was just so perfect. There's no replacing her. Her voice was so soft, all she had to do was speak, and I felt a soothing peace come over my soul. I'm not so sure life is worth living without her. Coming home to an empty house is almost a death sentence. Trish and I never had children. I wish we had now. I always thought there would be plenty of time, so I fought to put it off a few more years, opting instead to focus on our careers. Too many years went by. She got sick one time, became infertile, and too old for children. Hindsight is always 20/20. I finally bought some land out in the middle of nowhere. I'd been thinking about it for a while. 50 acres with a water well on site and grid electricity nearby. The entrance is barely noticeable and leads to an open area about a quarter mile or so into the woods. It's covered with water oak, live oak, and yellow southern pine, with areas of underbrush and some thorn bushes. Very quiet out there. I'll have to get a power pole and the box to go with it to house the meter. Nice plot of land though. I like it. Way out in the country, no homeowners associations to deal with, no neighbors for miles. It was actually a hunting camp at one point years ago with some old rotten buildings still standing. Guess I'll have to evaluate and demolish some of them. Hopefully at least one will still be good enough to store tools and stuff. The life insurance policy on Trish paid off with double indemnity. Plenty of money for everything. But it will never replace her. I wish she was here. I called the electric company to schedule a turn-up in a couple of weeks. Guess I'll have to put up the pole next weekend. Shouldn't be too hard. Day 15, May. Left Friday night for the property. Takes about an hour to get there, and it was dusk when I arrived. I put up a tent for the night, got a fire going, ate some dinner. Steak and shrimp. Good stuff. I think I used the wrong kind of wood because it tasted a little soury. In the morning, I'll dig a hole for the power pole. I got a few bags of concrete to secure it, and that should be good to go. I got a couple of generators and a buttload of gas for them, so I have electricity. I also brought clean water in a 300-gallon food-grade tote that I'd bought this week. I saw a nice-looking used tractor for sale on the way out. Might go back and check it out. For sure, it would make a lot of things much more easy. I'll think about what to do. Maybe I should clear out some property in the back and see what I can do with all that space. I think Trish would have loved it out here and hated it at the same time. She hated insects. Maybe I'll clear a nice spot and make a small cemetery and bury her ashes out here. I'll have to get a headstone, but that's no big deal. That's more for me than anything else. Just wanting her to be around. Gas prices went up a little this week. Not too bad, but it is summer, and prices tend to go up in summer. Food prices went up a little as well. No worries though. They'll come back down in a couple of months. Nothing became of the president's missile launches. Big surprise. They didn't hit anything. Just a bunch of old airplane hangars with nothing in them. That was certainly worth a few $1 million for high-tech missile use. I'll go ahead with the grid electricity, but I'm thinking about putting in solar energy and perhaps a couple of small wind generators to help back up the grid. Both rather expensive, but I don't know how stable the power is out here. I think they'd make a good backup, yeah. This journal thing is a little cheesy, but I'm getting used to it now. Maybe it'll help me work through some things. Or maybe not. Off to bed. Day 30, May. I got the electricity pole in place, and the power company got the meter installed. They complained about the height of the pole for a while. I didn't think they were going to get it done. After a few hours of giving me a hard time, they went ahead and hooked it up. Bastards. Anything to give someone a hard time for no reason. I had an electrician install the outside breaker box, transfer switch, and a breakout box close to where I'll be working. Cost out the butt, but it's done. I also bought that tractor I saw. It was a little overpriced, but everything is these days. It runs good and uses gas, so I got it covered for a while. I bought a clean 55-gallon drum and filled it full of fuel for any and all needs. I got some tools I didn't already have, and I did something I thought I would never do. Bought some weapons and ammunition, a 9mm handgun and an AR-15. I figured both would be fun to target practice and just to have around. Nothing in the camp seemed to have moved since my last visit, and there was no sign of anyone else having been there. I guess that's good. I'm having a 16 by 24 lofted shed delivered to the property this weekend, so I don't have to stay in that tent. That tent got old quick. I figure I could turn the cabin into a nice place to stay. Damn, I sure need to put in an outhouse. Going into the woods is a little unnerving. So I got a lot on the plate for the property this weekend. Helps to keep my mind off things. Off of Trish, lying on a morgue table, cold and broken. You know, they still have you identify the body these days. The boss came back to God mode okay. Big surprise. The jacking he got seemed to have faded away over the weeks. He'll do it again. He's just not that smart. I'm about sick of that job and working. I've gotten the water well pump to work off the generators, and I ordered most of the solar equipment. Installing those panels should take most of a weekend to mount and get the wiring run back to the shed. They're mighty proud of that solar equipment. More expensive than I thought. But I'm not even close to running low on cash, so what the hell. Just get it done. I've cleared a section of property just across from the cabin, and I started building a small outdoors chapel. Nothing great, but I'll add to it over time. I do have my beliefs, you know. Despite everything that's happened to me, I can only trust in God's word that everything is going according to His plan. I can't imagine what that plan is, but I guess I'm not that smart. I've known some people who were atheists who actively tried to turn me against Him, but I just can't do that. I looked at them and saw nothing that I admire, nothing that I would want to model myself after, and how shallow they really were. I have my personal relationship with the Lord and have always had some section of where I live dedicated to Him. So why change that now? I think I'll have a priest come out and bless the area. Day 50, June. A lot has happened since my last entry. I got the shed wired for electricity, some outlets installed in both the inside and outside. Most all the solar equipment has come in, so I got the panels up in the small field behind the shed. The wind turbines just did not work out, so forget those. The company kept going up and up on the quote. Got some carpet and insulation inside the shed, starting to take shape now. And I got an outhouse put in. That's a blessing in and of itself. If you've ever tried to get up off the ground at night in a tent having to pee really bad, you'll know it doesn't always work out favorably for you. I got a buddy of mine, Jake, to help out and work around the place. He asked what I intended to do with all of this property and all this work. I told him I didn't really know, but it was fun, and it's something I'd always wanted to do. He said it was really pimped out for just messing around, but he liked it. He asked to hunt out there in return for helping out. I agreed as long as he left me some meat in the freezer. It's been years, but there's not a day that I don't think about Trish. I keep thinking about the funeral, and I see the whole thing like an endless loop in my head when I close my eyes. It sure would be nice to share this property with her. And for the first time, I thought of sharing the experience with someone else. No one in particular, mind you, just someone else to be there to share with the victories. The World Health Organization announced that despite their efforts, the bird flu was not contained as they hoped. The virus had spread to monkeys and pigs in China. They also implied that China may not be reporting the true situation. They feared the level of contamination was much worse than they thought. A whole-scale genocide of monkeys and pigs is now going on inside that country. This might lead to some food shortages in the long run. But the World Health Organization still remains confident that the situation can be contained and there was nothing for anyone to worry about. Generally speaking, when they tell you not to worry, that's the time to worry. Oh well, my project goes on. First weekend to fully stay and sleep in the new shed turned cabin. The hot, long dog days of summer are running the generators 24/7. The window unit has to be on all the time to make it bearable in the heat, especially at night, despite the canopy of trees. Those store-bought generators are not all they're cracked up to be. I had to replace the brushes in them as they burned out. Ain't that a pain? The solar energy system is allowing less and less of the grid power cutting that bill as well. Pretty soon, I won't need the grid at all as I build the system, or at least that's the plan. I'll just keep adding panels and batteries so I'll have overkill on it. Till next time.